Hello, 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 hello. Earth calling subs. Earth calling subs. Hello, hello, hello. Just going to see if you're coming up on the channel. It's the Prince Andrew interview on the BBC. Has anyone seen it? Did anyone see what I just saw? Cheaty saw it. And has anyone got an opinion? Who wants to kick things off? Hello, Jack Foley. Try and keep your comments and everything. I know it's hard because it's quite an adult subject, but I just thought that was remarkable. Did anyone else see that? It's the interview with Emily Maitlis on BBC, Newsnight interview, regarding Prince Andrew's friendship and after Epstein's prison incarceration, Prince Andrew continuing to maintain a friendship of some sorts with him or not. Yeah, liptastic lollies. That was some interview. It was an interview. Scandal Gaming Superheroes. How about you guys? Oh, thank you, Scandal. Scandal Gaming Superheroes are my life. It was incredibly uncomfortable watching, wasn't it? Lucy, check it out. I mean, I was reminded of the time Princess Diana did her interview. But on many levels, Emily Maitlis was asking questions you could never have imagined possible of a member of the royal family. Olive, I watched 10 minutes and I was not convinced he was claiming the truth. I stopped watching because of it. Well, yeah, I kind of get you, but at the same time, I feel one has to... The terrible thing about most things is it's easy to prejudge everyone, isn't it? And because someone has wealth, power, influence, it's even easier to assume that they must be complicit or culpable. And yeah, I mean, it was deeply uncomfortable watch. And you know, what I want to say, I don't know what you guys think, what I want to say, it's less about whether he's telling the truth or not, because we will never know unless hard evidence comes out. But there are a couple, who the hell advised him? There are a couple of things there in his, for want of a better expression, interview testimony that for me didn't really stack up. But they don't necessarily infer guilt fully, though. What do you think? Mandy Keegan, who the hell advised him to move to do that interview? Kirsty Kate, that's a really good question, having worked in TV. I'm almost guaranteed that he will have only done that with a pre-authorization of the questions. And yet, I don't know if you noticed, there were a couple of times in that interview where Emily Maitlis threw out the quote of a certain person. There was someone who said he'd visited him 4 times a year. He'd visited Epstein 4 times a year. And he looked genuinely shocked about that. Now, you know, people said you couldn't be around Epstein and not know this was going on. That, for me, became some of the most compelling sort of stuff. But here's the thing. There was one line that he said, one line that, for me, with my slightly forensic, I wanted to be a lawyer once, with my slightly forensic brain, I thought, how could he say this? See what you think of this. He said, oh, I've lost it. What did he say? Oh, yeah, he said, that photograph, you know, the incriminating one of him with his arm around the woman who's accused him's waist. He said, that photograph was taken upstairs, but I never went upstairs. Now, if I was cross-examining him, I would immediately say, but if you've never been upstairs, how do you know that was taken upstairs? Do you know what I mean? And if cameras were such a rare thing, it's not like there are thousands of photos of upstairs in the house. So that, for me, I would have, it was so sketchy, wasn't it, liptastic? Yeah, so I found that a bit odd. Another inference was when he was asked about having sex 3 times with this woman, he said, this is another interesting line, which again, as the prosecution, I would have pushed and I would have said, he said, I racked my brain and there were no memories of a similar ilk. He racked his brains to see if the suggestion of sex 3 times. If you're not that sort of a person who's doing that sort of a thing, you don't need to rack your brains. For example, I remember a period of my life where there was all sorts going on in my life, and I couldn't tell you in terms of, various girlfriends and being an absolute tart. I couldn't have told you because it was too much going on. But that would be honest. But he's trying to infer that he wasn't having sex with anyone. So for him to say, I racked my brain, immediately kind of kicks up more dust than answers anything. Mary Elizabeth Gallagher, he obviously knows her, but he is pulling a Bill Clinton. Oh, I see what you mean. Again, there's no hard and fast evidence. I thought it was interesting the way Emily Maitlis pushed back against him regarding would you make a legal statement, and then he referred to his lawyers. All of that, why would he not make a legal statement pre-sight of the questioning and the conditions and the circumstances of the interview? Yeah, Bernadette Dobson, yes, I thought that was odd about upstairs, and he was in New York the day before the sex allegation. I know. The other thing is, if lots of people are coming and going in the house and you're a member of the royal family, aren't you precisely required or programmed to know who all these people are coming in and around you if you don't know them? Do you know what I mean? You need to be kind of secure. And then there's the other question of the photograph in the park. Why would you be in Central Park to have such a significant conversation? And as a member of the royal family, after everything with Princess Diana, you would know not to go into a public area. Margot Stiles. Well, you're absolutely right, Margot Stiles. We're not for a minute suggesting legally, in any way, shape or form, that Prince Andrew is guilty. But I do think that what we might be about to witness, and this is my kind of rationale as to why would he do the interview? Why would he do the interview? Prince Andrew is a member of our royal family who is scoundrel gaming superheroes on my life. And there's been a major interview here on UK TV with him regarding his relationship with Epstein, the sex trafficker and sexual predator, essentially. Yeah, why break up a friendship in person? Why not make the phone call? Why not have one of your lackeys as a member of the royal family go over or do the deed? Phone him, send a message. What do? They send a pigeon with a note strapped to it. It all struck me as a bit odd. Very good moment. I thought, Emily Maitlis, what did you think? Was very, Matthew Betts, thank you. How curious that we got into a I could not sweat at that period of time. I mean, at that point, I was feeling like there were moments where my own armpit started to sweat. See, if someone accused me of sweating, I'd be like, yeah, you're damn right. I sweat all the bloody time. Do you know what I mean? There were moments where you were just thinking, hang on a minute, he's about 7th, 5th, 6th in line to the throne. You can't ask him about sweating in a nightclub. But of course you can, because if he's been up to something illegal. But what a curious excuse. And what did you think of Emily Maitlis's pushback on the Pizza Express? That he should remember so specifically such an ordinary thing. I've never seen a member of the royal family in a Pizza Express. No, Chi likes to come in and out constantly. She's been in and out. I'll let her out after this. Do you know what I mean? It's curious, isn't it? And curious detail that he knew there at the end about, I suppose we've all found it out, which was what I was inferring or referring to earlier in mine and Nadia's response to the highlights of this interview, around the suggestion in some quarters that the way his neck broke or whatever in his suicide attempt isn't consistent with a suicidal death. No, he didn't, Gigi, you're right, he didn't deny the massages, did he? And, look, for some reason, for a lot of English people of landed gentryness, having your feet done is quite a thing, isn't it? Wasn't it David Mellor or one of our politicians who had his toe sucked or something? There will be a seal of approval in Pizza Express Woking tonight. Yeah, they could pop a blue plaque up saying Prince Andrew was here. I did find and let's not forget, there are people here who have been caught up and have themselves been the victims of abuse in the Epstein scandal. We have no way of knowing Prince Andrew's knowledge of this or not. He says he didn't know anything. But I do feel that language like he used, which Emily Maitlis pulled him up on, unbecoming. He said, yes, he's a man of who's conducted unbecoming behaviour. Unbecoming, and as Emily Maitlis corrected him, he's a sex offender. Do you know what I mean? It's odd language. I mean, I was kind of being devil's advocate this morning with Nad, saying, but maybe that's about, because he did sort of correct himself and say, well, I'm being polite. Maybe he didn't feel he could step that way for this interview. I mean, one thing for sure is that even in his admission of misjudgment, though it was limited, he was observing Dubrett's book of etiquette to the letter, wasn't he? Yeah, unbecoming. I thought that was a joke. Reg Ister. Yes, the interview has just gone out. It's just come. I presume, I'm not too sure how soon they become available on BBC iPlayer, but it will become available on BBC iPlayer. Olivia May. There is an American prosecutor suggesting that if he travels to the USA, he may well be questioned. The lawyers of the woman being a case against Epstein will quiet. Oh, right. So if Prince Andrew goes to America, sex is positive. Yes, sex is a positive action for the male. What was all that about? What was all that about? I mean, let's not beat around the bush. At the end of the day, if he has done the thing that this woman's saying, he has conducted in illegal sex with a minor, isn't it? Which is officially rape. Yeah, and then he pulled in right at the end there, which I thought was not necessarily interesting, but the whole thing about his mental health issues, the way in which he's been distracted is like mental health issues. Anyway, regardless of what the surely his advisor would have told him not to go visit a sex news centre. I mean, there was a huge hullabaloo, wasn't there, recently when Prince Harry went against royal protocol and issued the letter that he did to the Daily Mail and to the press. And Buckingham Palace went into a tailspin. I mean, in the past, I've had a few correspondences. I was working with the Duchy of Cornwall's, Prince Charles's people. We were going to shoot a series in his Duchy of Cornwall farms, and about the produce and all that kind of stuff. And you have to go through so much protocol. And yeah, the protocol that would have been in place there for him to not do this interview. I mean, then there was someone else on Sky News last night saying, of all of his advisors, but who's advised him to do this? It seems very strange, which then led me to make my suggestion earlier today that, yeah, like Todd the Bunny says, yes, it is odd. I just wonder whether there's something incoming, and this is an attempt to be something of a preemptive strike. The clue to that might be in Emily Maitlis saying, this might be the only thing you're going to say about this. Right? So maybe he said, let us see the questions. I'll be as honest as I can. He's given what he's given. But there's a knowledge that he's not going to do anything else, that it is going to ratchet up to the next legal level. More questions are going to be asked of him, and he'll be able to forever refer. This will be used ad nauseum, this interview, as if not testimony, then evidence, or sufficient evidence if he never goes back to the US, for the public here. But it was an intriguing watch, wasn't it? I mean, it's not often you watch something where you're like that. I was like this. I was like, ooh. It was like a moment when Nadia knows I haven't walked the dogs, and she keeps pressing me on it. I mean, far more serious, obviously, but that sort of squeaky kind of, oh, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? What's that? Reet Andrew. Sorry, they're coming up faster on the screen and slower over here. Let's have a look. Reet Andrew. Do we think the government has a greater hold over the royals to protect their reputation? But I don't think our government or politicians at the moment have any hold over anything. We are in a state of total disarray there. So in a weird way, I think the reason there's certainly a softening in mine and Nadia's attitude to the monarchy is that with William and Harry coming through, I think we think they're quite, we think they're a good pair. I think they could be a good face for the modern royal family. We're fond of the Queen and Prince Philip because, my nan loved them and all that kind of stuff, the war and everything like that. So they're figureheads. So, but I do think that when you look at Boris Johnson and what's going on in Parliament at the moment, there are a bunch of absolute numpties. you know, you could, I'd almost sometimes rather Prince Philip rolled in there and started running things. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, there were times where I thought he sounded incredibly feasible. There were other times where it felt like he had his answers to what had been going on at the end of his fingertips a little bit too freely and easily. There were other times where he looked genuinely shocked and surprised by a couple of what I would call hijacking moments, which she must have, Emily Maitlis, maybe slipped into a list of questions that was pre-agreed, and there were just 2 or 3. You know, if we were conducting this, if I was producing that interview, and we've done many interviews which were like this, where you go, you know, usually with celebrities or entertainers like Madonna and what have you, and you'd go, right, okay, well, we know we've got to toe the party line. We're only going to get in there if we ask these 10 questions. But your push as a journalist is to how can we squeeze 2 more in there? And strictly speaking, the BBC as a broadcaster, it's one of the terms of trade in terms of making programs, is you're not allowed to have the editorial content of anything you put out dictated by your contributor. That is, strictly speaking, the code of broadcasting conduct. But given the sensational and extraordinary nature of this, they might have bent the rules a bit at the edges, and in order to observe that rule, they might have then said, let's slip in 2 or 3 squeaky bum questions. And those would have been the ones around the people who'd seen him or suggested he'd visited a lot more and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure body language experts will have a field day with it. We are going to be analysing this for weeks, days, months on end. His eyes did pop out big time with the mention of, was it? That's right, John Beckman. How can your eyes pop out, as you rightly identify there? How do your eyes pop out, Jane XXX, if you don't know who the person is? He kept saying no too soon. Interesting that he never drinks. But then again, that doesn't say much because neither does Trump. He's a teetotaler. You know, I would like to think as a sober person who's been sober for 15 years that sobriety would mean that you would not have sort of peccadillos and other issues around things, but it doesn't guarantee that at all. Look at Trump's use of language around women, and he doesn't drink at all. So, do you know what I mean? Anyway, there we go, guys. Carry on leaving your comments below. You've probably sensed I'm trying to having worked for the BBC a lot. I'm tiptoeing around, you know, compliance issues here. You know, it was a pressing interview. I was really, and to be honest with you, someone mentioned it. It went up. I was really relieved and pleased by how, even if they were preordained questions, how well Emily Maitlis conducted it and pushed it back. I think she did a good job of pressing it. I think he did 70% of his performance. I wasn't surprised by. That's what I was expecting, but I was very surprised by the other 30%. I thought some of the rationales and excuses, sweating, unbecoming. The upstairs thing, I'm telling you, the upstairs thing is a biggie for me. Central Park photo doesn't stack up. 4 times a year in Florida, that doesn't stack up. When asked if any of the people he received massages from, could they have been underage people trafficked in, as someone rightly said, he didn't dispute having a massage. And where is the blackmail in there? And where is, you know, obviously there's a lot of very wealthy people who were, you know, rolling around in Epstein's universe. You know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I mean, a lot of people are going to turn a blind eye to a lot of things, and a lot of people, as he said, it's like a railway station. You're going to let people come and go on those platforms if you know that by letting them come and go, they're going to let you come and go. Anyway, carry on the debate downstairs. I'm sure Nadia's going to contribute to this debate when she's back. She really wanted to see that, so she'll watch it when she's back. Thanks, guys. Again, as ever, you know, brilliant comments. Some that I haven't read out. It's only for kind of legal reasons. But yeah. And Gabrielle, you're absolutely right. His poor daughters. I mean, you know, for the whole family. And the extended family, you know, the Queen. I mean, you know, Christ. She must be thinking, now at 93, when will the bloody scandals stop? Stacey, not your average Saturday night viewing. No, absolutely not. And Scoundrel Gaming Superheroes Are My Life. Thank you for enjoying our channel. And take good care, guys. Take good care. See you on. I hope you enjoyed the vlog. The vlog's landed elsewhere. Me and Maddie did a load of trailers. They're coming up. The mince pies are coming tomorrow. I ran out of time today. There's another cooking dish coming from Nadia tomorrow. There's some funny footage coming up of someone who shouldn't be wearing high heels wearing high heels. This is beginning to sound like a Conservative MP scandal now. So anyway, lots of love. Have a good evening. I don't know what I'm going to do now. I'm probably going to go and collapse on the sofa. Bye.